Hello and welcome on into Classic Pro Wrestling with the WFIA podcast. I am Chris DeCarlo, the Vice President of the WFIA. To my left is the man with class, Mike the Class DiGregorio from Rhode Island. How are you, sir?
Good.
Above him is our producer, friend, the one and only Playa, Mr. Benny Scala.
Always a pleasure.
Next to Benny, above me, is WFIA board member, also from the great state of North Carolina, historian friend, Mr. Jason Munday.
How's everybody doing? Glad to be here.
Last but not least, TV star, movie star, author, improv, wrestling historian, the one and only Mr. Mike Messier. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Glad to be here with everybody, and glad to be looking forward to the future of this program. Very exciting.
Yes, Mike, why don't you plug a few things you got going on there first, buddy?
Well, for all things Mike Messier, MikeMessier.com is the easiest way to get there, MikeMessier.com. Here's my novel, Fighter Play Basketball. It's available on Hoopla, on Amazon Audible, Amazon hardcover paperback, Barnes & Noble. And, of course, I'm still painting. This past week, I went to an NWA show in Tampa, and before that, I did some research, and apparently there's a rumor that Billy Corgan named his band the Smashing Pumpkins after this Road Warriors Starrcade 86 promo when they were literally smashing pumpkins off a scaffold in preparation for their Midnight Express match. So I took that painting that I did last Monday to the show on Tuesday, and Corgan got a laugh out of it, and so did his commentating buddies, Joe and the other guy. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, that's right. As Mike Messier mentioned, this is our first WFIA podcast show on this new network, the Playa Entertainment Network. You can please go to YouTube, which we are live right now. Like and subscribe to this, please. And you will also see some other shows, great shows, right? Crime Show Monday night, Nikita Brezhnikov when it was Real Wednesday, and we are live today, Thursday, July 10th. Benny, why don't you start our first Classic Pro Wrestling with the WFIA podcast show with the toast, sir?
Yes. Well, here's to like Mike said, the continued success of the show. So far, so good. I'm having a blast with you guys. Also want to let everybody know that in addition to now streaming live on the Playa Entertainment Network, we are also live on internet radio station WANT. You want it, they got it. So a toast to Want Radio and a toast to the show.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Excellent. Cheers.
All right. Yes, indeed. Well, guys, a quick couple of WFIA business as we do each and every week here. You can please go to the WFIA.org. Two things. We have the T-shirt with our logo behind us. We have coffee mugs for sale. Secondly, of course, we want you all to be a member of the WFIA, and that is $50 for the calendar year. You will get a monthly newsletter via email, and you will also get a classic picture of a wrestler, manager, referee, and also we're looking to have an in-person convention for the 60th anniversary of the WFIA in 2027. So please do that as well. Also, a couple quick things, guys. Since a busy wrestling up-to-date wrestling weekend here we got. Saturday, July 12th, NXT's Great American Bash in the afternoon. Saturday night's main event, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on NBC, which is from Atlanta, Georgia. They've been building up this one, as we will see the return of Bill Goldberg to take on Gunther there. And then AEW's All-In pay-per-view from Texas, also this Saturday night, July 12th. And then Sunday is the WWE's Evolution pay-per-view. They're pay-per-views for me. I know they PLL, premium live events, but always will be a pay-per-view to me. And today, Mike Messier, before we get to our main event topic, let's reminisce a little bit of that great background behind you, the Tower of Doom from the NWA's Great American Bash, 1988.
Yeah, this is going way back. But, as a small child, I was there in my embryonic state. And, at the time, my standards, even as a young fan, I was pretty high standards for the National Wrestling Alliance and Jim Crockett Promotions. This was actually their third only pay-per-view and their last pay-per-view as Jim Crockett Promotions, because by December, Ted Turner bought the promotion, and then we had our Ted Turner years. So this was Jim Crockett Promotions. It's tough because at the time as a young fan, one thing that really bothered me was the brevity of this show. Even if you watch it now, it's down to 2 hours and 15 minutes. And at the time, it was the same thing. And one thing about Jim Crockett Promotions shows, typically they were almost 4 hours long if you went to a live, non-televised show. I mean, the first show I went to was a Bunkhouse Stampede show in December of '86, and it was 6-match card, which went about 4 hours. So they were 56 minutes of that was Ric Flair versus Nikita Koloff, and then the Bunkhouse Stampede itself was probably 45 minutes or an hour. So this show, at the time, it was a little disappointing, to be honest with you. And even watching it now, I watched it last night and into today to refresh my memory. It's a good show. You can see the quality of wrestlers is very high. Even in the first match, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson do an excellent job of making Nikita Koloff and Sting, who are really kind of a Frankenstein mixed match tag team, but making those guys look really great. And that's why Tully and Arn back then and even now were considered one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And then you follow Tully and Arn with a Midnight Express versus Fantastics match. And that's another pair of great tag teams. They did spend a lot of time on Jim Cornette getting thrown into a straitjacket and thrown into this show had two. I mean, if you think about it, it had 4 cages. One was Jim Cornette being suspended above the ring in a straitjacket. And the very next match had this crazy Tower of Doom. One thing I can tell you as a fan in the audience for that one, and I did take this photograph behind me, it was very scary because the tower, I don't think the TV captured it quite as well as in person. That tower was shaking. That tower, I mean, we had Tommy Young and Dick Worley. I mean, those are 2 classic referees right there. The 2 of these guys working the same show is epic in itself for fans of referees. But these guys, especially Tommy, I think was stationed on the top cage, like this little mini cage. You can see him. He's scared. I mean, he's legitimately scared because he's holding on to this thing. And all of the wrestlers in the Tower of Doom, Steve Dr. Death Williams, Al Perez, I mean, even Ivan Koloff got thrown into this thing. But you can see that all these guys they're kind of going at 80% because I think it's just out of fear. I mean, fear of death, not fear of each other. But you can see they're doing a lot of forearm shots and a lot of punches and stuff. And they're kind of playing it safe until Hawk gets in. When Road Warrior Hawk gets in, he's loaded up on something, if not adrenaline from the crowd, but he's loaded up because Hawk is just going full blast like he's in a standard tag team match with a hot tag or the War Games or something. Hawk's just throwing clotheslines and bashing people against the cages, and he's just going nuts. And storyline wise, this was the culmination of a gorgeous Jimmy Garvin defending his wife Precious or Patty against Kevin Sullivan. Mm-hmm. The rules of the War Games and of the Tower of Doom were kind of cumbersome because they had what they called the trap doors, which were basically doors at the bottom of each level that at every 5 minutes or something, Tommy Young or Dick Worley would pull a string to open these trap doors, and the wrestlers were supposed to escape to another level beneath them. Kind of convoluted, very dangerous, I would say. It's really lucky that the whole thing didn't collapse. I mean, it could have been a real catastrophe, and I'm not exaggerating because this thing was wobbling like crazy, seeing it live. There was some, I mean, it's one of these things where the criticism of this show is that you had a great tag team like the Road Warriors kind of stuck in this match. There was only 5 matches on this whole pay-per-view. If you had the Road Warriors even against Al Perez and, Rick Steiner or Larry Zbyszko or something like that, it probably would have done them more favors. But on the other side of it, you didn't see a Tower of Doom. This is the only time they did it, as far as I know. So as a one-off, as a special attraction, as just something different, It was different. They, all things being said, they did kind of copy this from World Class Championship Wrestling. World Class had done a triple cage match, I think, in May at one of the David Von Erich shows, the tribute shows. So, I mean, it wasn't totally original, but for 99% of the audience watching, it was the first time and the last time seeing the Tower of Doom. Although I think they dragged it back in '96 for Hulk Hogan and Macho Man against 15 guys or something. So, anyway, it was a good show. The Luger Flair match also had a disappointing end. Barry Windham retained his U.S. title over Dusty Rhodes. The thing that we kind of walked away with also was Ronnie Garvin turned heel on this show. This was kind of the end of the Four Horsemen Dusty Rhodes era. That's what I'd call it. Like basically 85 until 88. After this show, a lot of people started leaving. Tully and Arn left in September. Barry was gone by the next April or May of 89. Dusty was even gone by January of 89. The Road Warriors were gone, I think, in mid-90, 1990. So a lot of the classics that we think about, the NWA, the glory years of Crockett, those 3 or 4 years of the Four Horsemen and Dusty and Nikita, this is pretty much the last hurrah. I mean, this is the curtain call of those guys. I don't think anybody knew it at the time. We just thought this was going to go on forever. But if you're looking to see the Barry Windham Four Horsemen era, this is the show to watch because all those guys were on it. But like I said, by the end of the year and into 1989, by the time we got to 89 with Flair Steamboat and Flair Funk, everything from 88 was totally changed. So I'm glad that I was there, and I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Well, Mike, my question to you is, was that Tower of Doom suspended above the ring that nobody saw, or did they put it together in front of you?
No, when we got to the arena, I remember, being a young kid and coming into the arena, and I give a shout out to my parents, especially my dad. It was a lot as a kid. This was a lot of wagering. I put in a lot of kid points in order to see this thing because I was actually in the state of Rhode Island for the summer, and I had to get an airplane to go to Baltimore. My dad actually took me to a Baltimore Orioles game in the afternoon, and get this, I walked from the hotel to the Baltimore arena by myself and back, which I don't think any kid these days would do without a leash around their neck and 5 cell phones in their pocket. But at the time, I'm walking around Baltimore as a young kid by myself to go see a wrestling show, and I met my friends there and had a great time. But as we got there, and to answer your question, the tower in all its majesty, all 3 cages were suspended above the ring. If you watch this thing, I do suggest the people that have never watched it, or if you haven't watched it in a while, you can see that top tier cage is literally hanging by the rafters. It's in the lights. I mean, the bright lights, and you can see like Steve Williams and Mike Rotundo. They're all in this little cage, and these lights are right on them. It was different. And I think that, if you had to put this against the War Games, 2 cages next to each other, I think War Games will win every time. But like I said, it was a spectacle. I wish the show was even 10 or 15 minutes longer. I think if they had the Tully and Arn versus Sting and Nikita match, if that went to a 30-minute draw instead of 20, I think the show might have been better received because that match really was very good. But I just feel like in a lot of ways this was a missed opportunity. And also, if you look at the statistics here, you had 3 heels winning. You had Barry, Flair, and the Midnight Express winning. The only babyface to win a match was Jimmy Garvin and his team in the Tower of Doom. And the opening match was a draw. And even there was a dark match that people don't know, but Dick Murdoch and Rick Steiner defeated Kendall Windham and Ricky Santana. And that's another heel victory. So, I mean, I know, we all know the deal with wrestling, but if you're trying to make everybody happy, I don't know if having most of the heels win the whole night, that's not the best booking either. So like I said, it's a great show, but in a sense, it's kind of like an A- B+ because in some ways the booking, it kind of felt like they were trying to hook you in to go to the arenas and watch shows at the arenas. It didn't feel like a payoff show. It felt like a build-up show, if that makes any sense.
Wow. And my other comment about this is not to take away from Benny and Nikita's show last night when it was real and they had the New York State Athletic Commission representative on. This was a Baltimore, Maryland State Athletic Commission decision with the Flair bleeding, right, Mike?
Yeah, it was actually Luger bleeding. It was Flair retaining because J.J. Dillon actually bonked Luger outside the ring on the ring post, and that caused Luger to have a bit of blood on his forehead. And it wasn't excessive. It wasn't Don Kernoodle in the 1983 cage match against Steamboat and Youngblood. It wasn't, the Sheik or somebody carving up somebody's forehead. I mean, this was a very minimal cut. And I believe I listened to a podcast with Tony Giovanni, perhaps, or Jim Ross, where they were claiming, 30 something years later, that the NWA worked Ray Iannucci, the gentleman who was the Maryland State Athletic Commissioner representative, that basically they didn't fill him in, that they were going to have Luger bleed, and they were just counting on him to stop the match, and apparently he did. So I don't know if I totally buy that or not. During the pay-per-view, Jim Ross makes note of the Maryland State Athletic Commission because they show them in the audience. So I kind of feel like that is a lie. I feel like they all knew what they were going to do. It was a variation on the Dusty finish. Later that year in 1988, we'd see Super Clash 3, Kerry Von Erich versus Jerry Lawler. And Kerry Von Erich had a legitimate mask of blood as he had the claw hold on Lawler for the pin, and they stopped the match. That felt better. Even a Starrcade 84 match was stopped on blood with Flair and Dusty. But this one, it really rubbed the fans the wrong way. You can hear, and they weren't talking about our friend Benny, but the fans were chanting, BS, BS at the end of this show, which a bad way to end the show is with the BS chant. And it was just a thing where it wasn't a good finish, and they should have thought of something better. And I don't know if giving Luger the belt right away was the move. It probably wasn't. But at the same time, like I said, having all these heels win all their matches, it wasn't probably the way to go with this thing.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely. What? For 30 years, right? Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. Well, my question is, did Luger ever bleed before that or even after that, ever? I mean, I don't remember him ever getting color much.
There was a claim. I remember, man, my memory for this era is really good because I remember that Dusty, when he was challenging Luger for the U.S. title in late 87, there was a claim that Dusty got Luger's, he popped his cherry, is what Dusty said on TBS, that they had a match, I think, in Atlanta where Dusty got a little bit of blood out of Luger. I think it might have been in a cage match, but Dusty actually went on TBS and said, I popped your cherry, meaning that he got Luger to bleed in October of 87. And then you had this one, and you're right. I think Luger was one of those guys that, I don't know if he personally didn't want to do it or they didn't want to carve up his Arnold Schwarzenegger-esque face throughout the years, but I don't remember a lot of juice or a lot of blood from Luger at all, like you said.
I'm going to guess it was a vanity thing because of his, fixation with bodybuilding. You can't have a body like Arnold and then a head like Abdullah the Butcher. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, good point, Jason. Well, guys, we'll transfer on to our main event topic for this show is music and wrestling. Now, what we mean by music and wrestling is so many great artists and bands from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and to name a few guys, Black Sabbath, Iron Man, the Road Warriors would come to the ring to that, and being in an arena, which I was at in Buffalo, New York, '89, when that song played and the pop, and they came to the ring. I mean, it was just crazy. Also, Survivor, as we know, classic song, right? 82, 83 from the Rocky III movie. Eye of the Tiger, we know Hulk Hogan used in the AWA first and then the WWF until 85. Queen, Another One Bites the Dust, was legendary, used by the Junkyard Dog. So, let's talk about those and some others. I have a list, I know. Jason, why don't you rattle off a few?
Well, I wrote mine down, and Iron Man, the Black Sabbath, Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin with Bruiser Brody, Stranglehold, Ted Nugent and Kevin Von Erich. We Will Rock You by Queen for Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude.
That's right.
Now, I've got one that's not a rock song, and it wasn't a regular song that this tag team used, but it was Mike brought up this match earlier. It was Sergeant Slaughter and Don Cornado in '83 facing Youngblood and Steamboat. They come in walking really slow to Rocky's Gonna Fly Now, that from the original Rocky. And if any heel ever wanted to see ring psychology of how a heel walks to the ring, they milked that entire walk up to the cage, walked around the cage, slow walked, eyeballed the fans. It was the perfect heel entrance I've ever seen, ever, hands down. But that was the only time I ever seen them use that song. But those are just a few I had.
Mike the Class DiGregorio, remember a few?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, Junkyard Dogs. We talked about that one, but Jake the Snake also had a pretty decent song that he had. And who else? Trying to think. What about Rick Derringer? Obviously, Hulk Hogan's Real American Hero. Obviously,
Off the wrestling album.
Yeah, and then of course Macho Man's music. Even though it wasn't a band, but it's been played at pretty much every college graduation there is or graduation. But yeah, there's been quite a few over the years. I mean, as far as the modern one, I'd have to go with Chris Jericho's music. His new Judas. They were singing along with that one for a while. So I thought that was kind of neat seeing a wrestler actually use his own music that he made. And that's not too often that you see that. So,
all right, Benny, you got a couple, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like when they created their own entrance music. Like back in the day, Jimmy Valiant, when he wrestled in Memphis, it was "Son of a Gypsy," which actually was released as a single. Larry Zbyszko, when he was a heel in the AWA. In fact, I titled a story I wrote for Pro Wrestling Stories, "Boo on Me." Very obscure song, but that was his entrance for a little bit. I'm trying. Of course, you got Shawn Michaels and Sherry Martel, "Sexy Boy." But you know, one of my favorite songs ever. Well, you got "Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo" with Rick Derringer and Mean Gene. Yeah. But then this is I absolutely love. I love Jay and the Americans, and one of my favorite songs is "Cara Mia." And if you listen to Nikolai Volkov sing "Cara Mia," he's got this beautiful, deep voice. And, I mean, it's a good cover. I mean, it's not just, you know, he had a legitimate, good, nice baritone voice. So there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah. Mike Messier, I know you got a bunch.
Yeah, speaking of the wrestling album 2, the highlight for me was Jive Soul Bro by our Reverend Slick. Yeah. And the music video holds up. Even Piper's For Everybody was pretty fun. And I mean, I listened to that first wrestling album on cassette over and over. To Texas, where Jason was talking about some good ones, Kerry Von Erich also used Rush, Tom Sawyer, which I know that the Iron Claw kind of splits the audience. Some people don't like that movie. I actually did, but I thought that one of the highlights of the Iron Claw movie was the Mike Von Erich character is playing around with music, and he puts Rush's Tom Sawyer on the radio, and then we go to Kerry working out in the gym, and he hears the song, and I thought it was a really good use of that song, both in real life and in the movie. The Freebirds, I'm surprised no one mentioned the Freebirds yet, but they had at least two. I mean, they had
Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, Leonard Skinner, Freebird, of course. I think they named themselves after the song, and then Bad Street USA when Michael had to create his own music, and they even did one with Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes. I think in '91 that wasn't as good. It was "I'm a Free Bird" and "What Is Your Excuse," and that was not good, but they tried. But they had 2 out of 3 were great. The modern day stuff, I mean, it's not too modern, but I mean, remember when Edge was using Rob Zombie's song? It was actually pretty good. It was like a real Rob Zombie release, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but Edge, it really worked for Edge at the time. And for a while they did good montages. Like they had was it a Limp Bizkit song, My Way, with The Rock and Steve Austin before WrestleMania 17. So that's not that was a theme for a match. I think they did Highway to Hell for Undertaker and Stone Cold. And then I'll tell you a couple that are a little bit different. They weren't catchy songs, but I mean, the Undertaker and even the Wyatt family, the original Bray Wyatt, with everyone raising their lighters, it was not theme songs per se, but it was a score, let's put it that way. And I'll tell you one that I was very surprised when I went to I believe it was a SmackDown taping, maybe 2016. But basically, the opening chord of that, the Bellas sisters, their song, You Can Look But You Can't Touch, or whatever it is. But the Bellas come out, and there was a sound that I hadn't heard in wrestling, which was a very youth-oriented, female-oriented pop, where a lot of young people, and I would dare say young females, 14, 15, 12-year-old girls were surprisingly in the audience, and the Bellas were their heroes. And that surprised me, because I never would think that there would be a huge contingent of teenage or preteen young women supporting pro wrestling, but they were, because they got into it by watching the Total Divas show, which once again, I mean, to me, that's exciting, because you're tapping into a different audience. So, I mean, I got to give it up to the Bellas and their little theme song, that they had their audience, and their audience was happy to see them. So there you go. So I'm trying to think of the Pomp and Circumstance was Randy Savage's song, the graduation song. Of course, another big one we all forgot was the Ric Flair song from 2001. I know it's got a different title, but
I got them on my list. Actually, that one is from 2001, A Space Odyssey, the movie. And they had two people, actually, a Richard Strauss and Zach Zaranthos. It was titled Sunrise or Dawn. Of course, we know Ric Flair comes out to that, and never forget it. Always, he used it in almost every territory, with McMahon doing a few different variations to the song. Right. But I mean, how about Willie Nelson's Midnight Rider, when Dusty Rhodes, aka the Midnight Rider, would come to the ring. Also, Hank Williams Jr. We have Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover, when Dusty would come to the ring. He had a couple different songs. Of course, Roddy Piper, like you said, Mike Messier, kind of like an instrumental, Scotland the Brave, the bagpipes, of course, would hit, and who's coming to the ring after that. And there wasn't another instrumental. The song, the title is Turbocharged, but when Sting would come to the ring from 88 into the 90s to that. And I'm sure the Ultimate Warrior had one too, but let's go back to World Class. As you said, in 1986, one of my favorites, actually, by Sade, Smooth Operator, Rick Rude used coming down the aisle in the Sportatorium in 1986. Judas Priest. Here's one. Judas Priest, Living After Midnight, right? Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, the Midnight Rockers. That was a pretty popular tune in the AWA, 86, 87. Of course, some modern day ones I liked. Speaking, you brought Edge up, Mike Messier, by Ultra Bridge. Did a Metal Ingus. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that was Edge's theme. That was a pretty damn good one. And then, of course, we still hear today for CM Punk, In Living Color hits and Cult of Personality, and The Place Goes Wild, either in AEW or the WWE. I mean, and of course, Motorhead, Triple H, The Game.
Boy.
They had one for Evolution. And a fellow, I promised, listening in, watching us, I'm sure, Mr. Ralph Harkey, WFIA board member, reminded me of this one, the Exotic Adrian Street. Mike Messier, like the Freebirds, sang his own song, Know What I Could Do to You, by the Exotic Adrian Street, and he used that coming to the ring. So the list goes on with these songs and themes. And then, like you said, though, WWF, WWE had their own takes of, like Benny mentioned, Heartbreak Kids and so on and so forth.
If I could, Jason Moaning reminded me of one that I was going to say, and I totally forgot. Midnight Express theme from the movie Midnight Express, and a quick commentary. Oh yeah, awesome, and great catch by Jason Moaning there in the comments. Okay, folks, if you watch these pay-per-views from the 80s and 90s, etc., from other territories, namely NWA and ECW, if you watch them on Peacock or the WWE network, if you're in other countries, you're not going to get the full experience because of copyright laws and ASCAP and all the things that the WWE, I don't really blame them. They don't want to pay the music rights for all these songs because it would probably be a small fortune. So what they do is they basically edit out stuff like the Midnight Express theme or any of Dusty's songs or the Von Erich songs or Black Sabbath Iron, and they basically give you a substitution song, and it doesn't do the original stuff justice. With ECW, it's really bad because ECW relied so much on the Gangsters song and all the AC/DC songs. I mean, AC/DC was pretty much the soundtrack to ECW. Mm-hmm. But if you watch these pay-per-views on the network or the WWE Peacock stuff, it's not going to give you the full experience. Sometimes you have to dig around and find other ways on the internet to watch these shows as they were intended. And that's just my little commentary. And also Iceman Parsons with We Are Family. Was that the Pointer Sisters or Sister Sledge?
Sister Sledge.
Sister Sledge, 1980. Yep. Yeah.
And that was cool. Yeah, that was good.
Of course, one of my favorites. I hear it in the car. ZZ Top's Sharp Dressed Man, gorgeous Jimmy Garvin coming to the ring with the boa and Precious. Yeah, I mean there's so many that
Boogie Woogie Dance Hall with Ricky Morton.
How about Death Leopards? Speaking of NWA, WCW guys, Death Leopards Rocket, Flying Brian Pillman used in 89, 90 there in the NWA.
Yeah. RJ Hudson in the comments, Chris, has got some good ones. I just want to acknowledge him. RJ Hudson is saying Scott Steiner theme with the siren, like the Big Daddy Pup era, and a lady named Tina actually likes the Mrs. song, which is more of a modern taste. RJ, once again, Bad Company. I think the was it Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond in the AWA?
Yes, Bad Company.
And RJ also likes the Maven theme song. Here's a good one from Jason again. Al Snow had Breathe by The Prodigy, and with the heads, that was pretty awesome. Yeah. And if you guys check the comments here, I mean, these folks are really chiming in. Warrior was the theme song by Scandal, is what he's saying. Jason's saying Warrior's first theme in WWF was Warrior by Scandal. And he makes a joke, a Pat Patterson reference. The crowd still went banana for him. And some really good comments here from everybody.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, that's right. We'd like to thank all our watchers and fans. I believe that Tina is probably my wife. Tina DeCarlo out there, thank you for watching, and our wives and girlfriends are putting up with us with this classic pro wrestling, right? Since I've been a fan 1980, 5 years old, and so on. But yeah, we appreciate everybody's comments, their time watching us here, of course, on the brand new, the Playa Entertainment Network. The future is bright, and many shows and maybe some new shows to come too, right, Benny?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And of course, you want to plug the radio station that are having us on tonight?
Yeah, it is WANT Want Radio. You want it, we got it. And I also do a show every Sunday at 3:00. I'm a DJ, play mostly oldies. Really good station. Another up and comer, just like we are. They're getting more and more shows. And when nobody is doing a show, they have really excellent, continuous, nonstop music. So worth checking out.
Awesome. Definitely. And, guys, let's go back to the Pile Driver album, the wrestling album 2, if you will, 1987, 88. You mentioned Slick, Mike Messier, but Of course, I believe, right, Rick Derringer did the Demolition's theme.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a classic. I mean, guys, I had a very short-lived rock and roll band. It was a wrestling rock band called the Figure Four, and there was actually a more famous Figure Four band, a bunch of guys with masks. But my band, we did a show, and as a rib, my bandmates started playing the Demolition theme behind me just to see if I knew any of the lyrics, and I was able to kind of get through some of them. Here comes the ash, and here comes the smasher, the demolition, walking disaster. Pain and Destruction is our middle name. I mean, it's really an inspired song. I mean, that song I think could hold up against any, Dio or anybody else with heavy metal. RJ once again is saying Pantera theme song. I think that was Rob Van Dam and ECW. Didn't Taz use Beastie Boys? Next Stop Brooklyn, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Like I think in ECW, Taz was using
Brooklyn.
Yeah, and I think he had a little variation on it. Like he had a different opening that was custom made for him. None of us mentioned the Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think that was a Jim Johnston original, and I think they changed it up a little bit a couple of times. Like if he turned heel or something.
Right.
Here's
the
one.
Glass shattering.
Yeah. I mean, and it's true. I mean, when you heard the glass shattered, you knew it was on, and that was just perfect. Jason
Metallica, Sandman for Sandman, ECW.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole show on ECW with the Sandman, and was it Man in the Box for Tommy Dreamer? And the Highway to Hell, was that Spike Dudley? And Chris Candido. Yeah. Chris Candido, I think, did Back in Black. Like I said, AC/DC was too bad ECW wasn't paying royalties to these bands, because some of these bands would have made money. New Jack and Mustafa had it was the Ice Cube and Dr. Dre song, America's Most Wanted, I think it was called, and just awesome. I mean, you got to give Heyman credit. He did have really good taste in music. Even the Loser song by Beck with Mikey Whipwreck, and I mean, talk about. Yeah, and talk about a guy. I mean, as an aside, Mikey Whipwreck really took that jobber, undercard guy thing and made it work. And the song "Loser" just was perfect. I mean, you know what I mean? Honky Tonk Man, going back to the WWF, Jason Moning mentioned the Honky Tonk Man. It was I'm just a honky tonk man. I'm cool. I'm cocky. I'm bad. I mean,
yeah.
As Benny said, the guys that actually sang their own songs, I think there's a certain merit to that. You know what I mean? There's a certain thing where, like, John Cena, I'm not the biggest Cena fan, but even him singing his stuff is really pretty good. Also, speaking of John Cena, there was this past week, the WWE released on the network on YouTube that John Cena had recorded a song called Bad Bad Man around 2005 or 2006. They shot a whole video for it, and they never released it until now. So it's actually pretty good. And, once again, I'm not the biggest Cena guy, but I mean, I'll give him credit. The song Bad Bad Man by Cena, you can see it on YouTube.
Good timing to release it now, though, right? After his heel turn.
Yeah. And it was, I think there was like the song is a parody of, the video is a parody of the A-Team. And the guy with the silver hair, the guy that was it George Pappas that was the leader of the A-Team?
Yes.
George
Papard.
Wasn't
Murdoch.
George Papard.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's Cena is playing that character, and he's wearing a gray wig, and they've got another guy who I guess is a rapper playing Mr. T, club, whatever, B.A. Baracus or whatever the name of his character.
Yeah.
And then they've got Gary Coleman. So anyway,
Little Mr. T.
Yeah, it was nuts, and it's one of those things where I don't know why they didn't release it. They didn't say why, but it's actually pretty good. I don't know. There used to be a wrestler up in New England, the old Kowalski promotion. I don't know if anyone would remember this, but there was a song like Alley Oop 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 Oop, like a novelty song from the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah.
And there was a wrestler in New England that would come out to that song. This is like 86, 1984 or 86. And this guy would come out to the Alley Oop song for like the Savoldi promotion. And the fans would go crazy. So, I mean, whatever they were doing up there for that guy with the Alley Oop song, I don't think it was a wrestler that went anywhere else. He was just a local guy who stayed local. But I don't know. I'm thinking of the Nasty Boys using Nasty by Janet Jackson. I mean, this topic is too much, guys. We could go on all week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know my 18-year-old son reminded me of Mike Messier, one-hit wonder, guys, Outback Jack with the tiny kangaroo down, right?
He got an action figure. He did get an action figure.
Both he and that song were hideous.
Yeah. Well, although also to sponge off of what you were saying, Mike Messier, is the WWF, WWE, even the Mid-Atlantic's original theme song, they changed that. Mid-South, they changed. They changed pretty much all the original territories' theme songs, even their own. They did from Championship Wrestling. I mean, Benny, when you would watch WOR at midnight on Saturday nights back in the 80s, and you heard that trumpet going, you know it was time for WWF Championship Wrestling.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I mean,
I could have been in the middle of a nuclear holocaust, and if I heard that, I would just stop what I was doing and go watch.
Always after the harness racing from Aqueduct there.
Yep.
Now I'm going back, right? But well, yeah, we can go on and on about this. But right now, Benny, if you will, put up my ECMC still pick, please.
Well, before I do that, I want to express my utter surprise that we have gone 42 minutes and 12 seconds, and nobody mentioned the West Texas Rednecks with Rap is Crap.
Yes. Kurt Hennig singing there in Wyndham. You're right. Classic WCW. All right. Each and every week on this show, I will mention to help our friend out who is locally to Niagara Falls, New York, Western New York, Mrs. Robin Restino, ECMC Transplant. I believe that number has changed, but you can look them up on your computer or some other way, I'm sure. ECMC Transplant, put into search. Her blood types eligible are A negative, A positive, and O. And she desperately needs a kidney. So hopefully in the near future, we will help her. Somebody will reach out and help her get a kidney so she can go on with her life here. Second, Mike the Class DiGregorio, why don't you take over with our Independent Wrestler of the Week, please?
This week's Independent Wrestler of the Week is Nikki Blackheart. And she had just won a championship. And they seem to think she's a hybrid of Saraya and Saraiva and oh my God, I can't think of her name now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting the brain.
Looks like Tessa Blanchard. Am I saying that right, Mike Messier?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tessa Blanchard.
Maria Ripley. She's built.
Yeah, Maria Ripley. That's it. Sorry, guys. Yeah, but they say she's a cross between. But I guess she's getting a lot of internet pub right now. So who knows if she's going to be
climbing that ladder?
Climbing the ladder, possibly going to NXT. You never know.
Yeah,
but she definitely has to look for it. She's very, very large. Very built, and seems like she's got to look for it. You know what I mean?
There,
for a
Dash
future.
at the Brew 54. That's a catchy card name, pay-per-view name. That's pretty cool.
It's kind of easy on the eyes, I must say.
Oh yeah.
All right.
She's blew up the internet lately on social media. She's just the last couple of weeks, she's been all over social media. I don't know if they're her promoters doing that or what, but she's all over.
Yeah.
Wow. Then Mike and Benny, why don't you transfer to our each and every week here? We do a military salute to service.
Absolutely. This week's salute to service is to Classy Freddie Blassie. Spent 4 years in the Navy during World War II. And then when he transitioned to wrestling, his first nickname was Sailor Freddie
That's right.
Blassie.
Wow, interesting.
I think it was actually Seaman, but people got offended by that. No, it actually was Sailor.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, some of these salute to service each and every week here on this show are quite surprising, Mike the Class. Very
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, Mike Messier, did you know that?
I did not know that Freddie Blassie served, but very proud of him for doing so. And talk about a life. I mean, you could do a week's worth of podcasts about the career
my
of Freddie
God.
Blassie.
Yeah.
What a life.
I mean, I remember in my Freddie Blassie memories, I believe he was married for quite some time to a Japanese lady, and I don't know if he met her in his tour overseas or if that came later, but he was quite happy with her, from what I understand. And speaking of that lady wrestler that you put up there as the independent wrestler of the week, I did go to this NWA show in Tampa, the Billy Corgan Modern NWA. There was a woman wrestler there. She's their current TV champion, not women's world champion, but actually their two women's champions were both great. But the TV champion, Tiffany Thieves, I believe her name is, she's quite good. And she definitely seems like they could put her, she can stay where she is, of course, if she's satisfied with NWA. But if she ever went to NXT, WWE, or AEW, I think she'd fit right in because she's that perfect, like kind of 5'10", 5'11", the same type of condition, physically she's muscular, but she's not overly big, if that makes any sense. I think she would fit in quite well. Mm-hmm. And there's two sisters in NWA now, the Page sisters. They don't really work together every single time. I think it's Kenzie and Kelsey Page. And I want to say it's Kenzie is their women's world champion now. I believe she used to have blonde hair and now she's a brunette, but I could be confusing the two sisters, but they're both very good. And they were both, the Kenzie, I believe, was there in action, and she's quite good as their women's world champion. So, I mean, one thing I would kind of going back to that NWA Jim Crockett show from '88, back then on that whole show and probably the whole year, I mean, women were basically represented by Precious, or you know what I mean? Like that was it. I mean, you had Precious and maybe Missy Hyatt if she was around at the time. But now we flash forward to the modern day stuff. And it's basically, if you go to any wrestling show, 40 to 50% is women, and it's just a remarkable change, because it used to be all the matches were men, and you might have a valet or Miss Elizabeth or Missy Hyatt or Nancy or somebody like that. But now half the show is women wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, Wendy Richter and Moolah, you're right, exactly. And then, Evolution, WWE's Evolution is strictly all women pay-per-view. And I believe they're going to have some women commentators, I guess. So, yeah, they definitely come a long way, and it's great for them. And they are very entertaining. And I've seen within the past couple of years, they actually, some bled in AEW, which was impressive to see. You never thought that, probably. So, well, guys, before we wrap this up, Benny, why don't you put up my weekly PSA of the week? I call it, each week we have a different topic here, and this week is the American Diabetes Association. I know my wife is a type 2 diabetic, and it's very important to type 1, type 2, even juvenile diabetes out there across the country. So definitely look them up, and the American Diabetes Association. And, it's definitely a good cause also to keep going to this day. So, guys, as we wrap up this first show on this great new Playa Entertainment Network, I thank our guests, our friends, Mr. Jason Munday and Mike Messier, for coming aboard this week for this topic. I really appreciate your time and you guys being on.
Yeah, happy to be here, buddy. Happy to work
Yeah,
with you
glad
guys
to-
in this new
yeah.
venture.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
for having me.
Chris,
yeah,
you want to mention the WFIA convention in Waterloo too, also coming up?
oh well, that's not actually a WFIA convention.
It's not?
That is nope, that is the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. But we're gonna have representation there, correct?
Yes, the our president of the WFIA, Mr. Brian Ferguson, will be in attendance with a vendor table and selling his book about Vern Gagne inside and outside of the ropes, and representing, taking questions for the WFIA. Thank you for reminding me. But
Sure.
Waterloo every year is in July, Waterloo, Iowa. Hopefully someday we'll get to go. It's I hear it's a great time. It's a 3-day event: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Meet and greet, trivia contest, wrestling, banquet. It's all a great time at a affordable cost too for the 3 nights, and everything is central right there with the hotel 5 minutes away. And it's Luthez and George Thangos, as my pronouncing
Oh,
that.
okay. Yes.
Tragos, I think.
Tragos. There you go.
Thank you.
Tragos.
And Luthez, Hall of Fame there. Yes. So, but yes, WFIA will be represented. And of course, please check out the WFIA.org. Like I said, for our t shirts, become a member, bigger and brighter things for the future of the organization with us. And again, with this show each and every week here, of course, on this brand new Benny, the Playa Entertainment Network, and the sky's the limits for everything. And of course, us. And guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you guys next week.